there's already a game that's been in development and past development. So they just re-released it, basically, an updated, better, souped-up version on the Unreal Engine 5. It's ARK Survival Ascended, and it's a game that I know that I love, and it's fleshed out in a lot of ways. It's still buggy, and it's still Studio Wildcard, which is known to be kind of,
a wild card.
A wild card, yeah. I guess they. What did we expect? Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, and welcome to Grass Touchers, the show where the three of us fellas talk about video games, what we've been playing, what we like, what's going on in life, and whatever else comes to mind. I am Jake.
I am Jared.
And I'm Greg.
Let's get into it. What have you been playing lately? Jared, tell me all the things.
Well, I started the week in my normal Tarkov groove. And I shouldn't have done that. I never should have gone back, but I did, and I was kind of enjoying it. I guess, I don't know if we've talked about this on the show yet, but we, the three of us, tried to play a little Tarkov, and actually we had a fourth join with us, and we had just a miserable belly flop of a time.
It was so bad, we deliberately, just glanced right over it in the podcast because I don't think we wanted to relive it.
Yeah, it was so awful. Just cheaters, and we just all died and did nothing. It was the video game equivalent of just getting your pants caught around your ankles and falling over at the DMV and just farting, but you shart DMV, and there's poop all over your butt, and everyone's just like, "Oh my god, what's wrong with him?" So it went really poorly.
That's pretty accurate.
But and we'll get into this later. But I downloaded free of charge. Oh well, kind of. I pay for Game Pass.
I was gonna say nothing's free there, but
I downloaded the flavor of the month, a certain game called Palworld, which led me back into another game that I used to get a lot of time into, and we'll get into that later. Greg?
I have been playing Borderlands 3 with Jake a little bit, and we've been playing PUBG, which has been fun. Love it.
Yeah, dude.
And that's basically it. There's supposed to be, hopefully, an announcement about Elden Ring DLC coming out very, very soon. The rumor mill is churning, so I will be playing that. But yeah, PUBG and Borderlands 3.
Yeah, man. When we played PUBG last, oh no, that was just you and me for a minute. That's right. And the time before that, I think we got two in the past week. We've had two sessions. My brother hit me up and said that he would like to play PUBG with us. He's a podcast listener, so shout out to Samuoli. Thank you for listening. He was like, dude, I got PUBG on my desktop again. It runs fine on low settings. Let's play. And so me and him played one night, and it was pretty great. And so he joined us, me and Greg and Sam. I tell you, having three people makes a big difference, but it is harder because communication becomes more frantic, and you get to the final circle, and you're like, what should we? Let's go. Oh, geez, we're dead. We're dead. Right. We're already dead. Because there's three of us, it's harder to figure out what the heck's going on. But still really enjoyable. I don't play video games enough with my brother, considering he and I both are grass touchers. There's a component of our lives, right, where it's like, all right, here's my me time, and then he's over there not talking to me, and he's like, here's my me time, when we could be like, hey, it's bro time. And nice. And so I think we're going to do some more of that, which is really great. And then, yeah, Borderlands 3. The thing about Borderlands 3 is I keep playing it just on my own. I did a different character than the one that me and Greg played, and I'm way past where me and Greg are, just playing by myself with this other character. Not because that character is 1,000 times better. I don't prefer one class over the other. But the game is just got me locked in with all these goofy grenade attachments and sick builds that you can come up with on the skill tree. My character has this drone that he lets loose, and it flies around and shoots guys. And it's just got machine guns on it, but you upgrade it to be armed to the teeth. And one of the perks is it will drop just at random intervals, whatever grenade you have, whatever your grenade mod is, it will drop one of those every like 5, 7, 10 seconds. And it has like a 30 or 40-second runtime. And so if you find a sick grenade attachment and you enable that perk on the drone, it's just murder. And so you get to these hordes of enemies. Even in single player, there's a lot of enemies on the screen. There's even more with 2 people, but you get to a really chaotic moment. And the Steam Deck, which is what I'm doing this playthrough on, is really keeping up very well. But if there's a huge mass of people, then it chugs just a little bit. And it's just this like beautiful chaos. It's like it's so nice. Gratifying when you sort of kill the last guy in the room and it all slows down and the music fades away and there's some goofy one-liner from Claptrap or some other character and you're like, that was sick. And the guns just get crazier and crazier and I think if you're just kind of sitting there on your Steam Deck, it is a nice gentle sort of romp, offline, having some fun. So speaking of the Steam Deck, what I want to kick off with is my I don't know how many hours review now that I've had it for longer, and had a chance to really kind of put it through its paces, install several different games on it, and talk about how I use it now, like as a regular part of my gaming intake. I've lately enjoyed playing at night in bed because, 2 reasons. My wife, shout out to Andrada, who will never listen to this probably. She has a sleep mask that like covers her eyes, right? So you can turn the lights on and she doesn't know it. She's like solar powered, my wife. Okay. She is very sensitive to light. In the summertime, she periodically goes outside of the house and literally just like recharges. And so when she's really sensitive to light, if I'm sitting there on my phone in the bed or something, she's like, are you going to freaking go to sleep or what? This is really, So Merry Christmas, I got her a sleep mask and it's worked wonders. Well, the Steam Deck, it has an extremely excellent screen, the OLED version. I can't sing its praises enough. At low brightness, it is clear and bright enough because I'm in a pitch black room. And it has been so rad to grab my AirPods, which, Bluetooth audio, good to go, and sit there and play on the Steam Deck for like 2 hours, know? And I'm not playing, baby's first Metroidvania. I'm playing, a relatively demanding game. The battery lasts long enough for me to sit there and just kind of cool off at night, sitting in the bed. I have enjoyed it so much that I have also reinstalled, or not reinstalled, but I've jumped back into Mass Effect on number 3 there, carrying through my same save file. And I don't know. Do you guys find that you have, now that we've all had Steam Decks for sort of longer, do you find that the Steam Deck is even better than when you first got it? Do you have any sort of new norms? Do you travel much with it, or do you just kind of keep it at home? Like, what's your experience been? Because mine just gets better and better all the freaking time.
Yeah. I go through phases. There's certain games that I go back to like always, like RimWorld, and I'm really comfortable playing that on my deck.
It really seems like it'd be hard on a console, sort of on a controller configuration.
You would think it would be a nightmare, but actually, the deck is intuitive enough, and your brain does the rest of the work, and you get there. The muscle memory gets there, and it's like it's as comfortable to me as playing on a PC. Maybe even more so at this point, but it really depends on what I'm playing in the season, and like I recently reinstalled Jumpstart First Grade. And I'm dominating.
Dude, don't tease me. We can talk about Jumpstart freaking video games if you want to. I played 4th grade Jumpstart in Egypt, doing all that multiplication. Let's go.
You couldn't do Jumpstart. You couldn't do Jumpstart 4th grade because you were too scared. It was scary. I remember that one was too, and you couldn't do it, dude. I promise you. Yeah, but yeah. It really just depends on what I'm into at the time, and the screen is so nice. Even my peasant LCD Steam Deck, the screen, I'll turn on Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and I'm like, wow, look at that! It just is. It's great. It's always more impressive than I remember when it's been a little while, and yeah, I love that little thing.
I just want to, for the audience, I want to clarify, it was Clue Finders that I played, not Jumpstart. I apologize.
Dude, I knew it.
It turns out, I guess I am a grass toucher. I'm not a real one. I thought I couldn't get it together. I'm now looking at the Clue Finders fandom wiki page.
Nice.
And it was Clue Finders Adventures 4th grade that took place in Egypt, and I love that game. Anyway.
I bet
Greg, what about you? What's your
Pooh Finders, dude?
What's your long term, now that we've had them for longer, impression of the Steam Deck? Obviously, Jared is a handheld bro from way back, but you and I are new to the scene. What are you thinking these days?
It's great. Honestly, and this shows reveals my the further grass toucher in me. My wife plays the Steam Deck way more than I do.
Oh, okay. I can live with that. That's good.
And honestly, I'm gonna place the blame on her for why I don't play it more. Really, I mean, this is a healthy marriage, she is hogging the Steam Deck. But she really does. She, we're really into a show called Succession right now on HBO, which is incredible show.
I've heard good things. I just still haven't got HBO back. So.
Oh, it is absolutely a Jake show, 100%. That you would just adore it. Four seasons, and it just finished last year. Really, really good. But like we'll watch, they're full hour episodes, right? So we'll watch an episode and we'll do some other stuff, and she'll sit there and play the Steam Deck. She'll play Dr. Mario, and it's great, man. It's been such a good thing, especially with her being pregnant and she's uncomfortable, and she wants something to kind of take her mind off it. It's great. So
for sure. That's awesome. I'm glad that you guys have been able to, I don't want to say share because it sounds like you're talking, but that you're, drawing up custody papers for the Steam Deck there. That's good. I love sitting on the couch while we watch something. And I'm kind of half watching it anyway, and sitting there playing on the Steam Deck while we watch like Love on the Spectrum or whatever. Which there's a new season of that out, and it's very good. We also watched a show called, you probably have heard of it, Love Is Blind, but there's a Japan like version of it now, I guess. So we watched a little bit of Love Is Blind Japan. A lot less insufferable than the American version. Imagine that. But yeah, right on, rocking out in the bed, on the couch. On an airplane, the Steam Deck. Can't recommend that bad boy enough.
Yeah, it's great. It's great on the plane. When I traveled to North Carolina over Christmas, super convenient. Especially Bluetooth headset or headphones.
Well, and the ergonomics keep surprising me. Where I keep thinking that I'm going to get sick of it. I keep thinking that something's going to like go numb, or I'm going to feel like my hand. But I sort of have two positions where I'm either resting it like in my lap or I'm up here like this, and I'm comfy, 100%. Freaking rocks, dude. All right,
Very
Jared.
nice.
I want to hear all about Palworld because I'm really curious as to whether it's worth my time. And also, I have had Game Pass in the past, and so it wouldn't be beyond me to grab it. The only thing I know about Palworld is the video game Donkey video that I watched about Palworld. That was. I know that he's more or less satirical like all the time, right?
Sure. But
his video of it made it look like an absolute crafting nightmare, and I don't want that in my life.
Yeah.
So take off. Let me hear it. Full sort of, review. I don't know how many hours you got in it, but let's hear it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think I probably put 5 or 6, maybe more in the past week, which is that's a decent amount.
First impression at least, for sure.
Right. And I'll say right away, they've done a pretty good job. They've done a good job with the game as a whole. It's a very ambitious game, and they've done a good job. There's I was expecting there to be 30 monsters and maybe 20 hours of gameplay, or maybe even less, 10 hours of gameplay there. And they're just hey, here's the concept, get in, buy it if you want to support us, whatever. But there's actually a game there. It's buggy. It has a lot of obscure things. It runs on the newest Unreal Engine, which if people are
5, right? Unreal Engine 5.
I believe it is 5. And so it looks great out of the box. I mean, there's a lot of things that look great about it, and then there are a lot of moments when you're like, what did I just see that right? Because the Unreal Engines have always been impressive right away. But then, if you stick around enough, you're going to see a bunch of weird stuff that, So it's and it's not nightmarishly buggy. It is there's a solid foundation for a game there. My issue is that people are like freaking out. It's kind of like Among Us. When Among Us came out and everybody was like,
oh boy,
oh my gosh, did you guys hear about We've got to play Among Us. And I remember I watched a little bit and I played it and I went, okay, this is a video game. I've been playing these for like 25 years.
Right.
And everybody was like, this is the newest, coolest thing. It's like, no, you haven't been in the scene or something and you think it's cool.
Yeah.
They made it very accessible and it was like groundbreaking for people to like, we can just play this online with our phones or wherever.
And COVID gave it a spike because people were locked up trying to keep in touch with friends, and it was the perfect whether you're a gamer or not. I remember Among Us being this like on ramp to video games for some people, or streaming or whatever.
Right. And it's a little bit of that. People are like freaking out because they're like, oh my gosh, it's Pokemon with guns. And it's actually, it's if you've played, and here we go, guys. The dog returns to his vomit.
I feel like I know what game you're gonna say. I'm curious if I'm right.
And I'm gonna tell the story. It's not the most hilarious story in the world, but it is funny considering who I'm talking to. ARK.
I knew it.
Yeah. Okay, so back in the day, in ARK's early years, I got it. And I loved it. I took to it immediately. I was like, this is filling a void I didn't know was there, which is pretty much every game that we can say we've loved in our life is kind of like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I didn't even think this could be a thing. And I remember I talked to Jake, and he was like, what are you playing? Or I may even just...
This was when we were at church together playing in the band,
right.
And I was like, I need to reach out to Jared. He's a real one. We seem to have the same interests. Like,
right.
I should ask him, what does he play, and should we play together? Like, what's good?
Yeah,
and you said...
I said, I've been playing this game, ARK, and it's incredible. I endorsed it fully. I thought it was the greatest game. And I still love this game. And Jake bought it, and he just... It didn't click for him. He didn't like it, and it's just not his style of game, and that's fine. I learned that in that moment. I think
no big deal.
I've done that a couple times in my life, and it's funny. I think I've learned because I know that my appetite is a little bit different than most people's. But yeah, guys, I played quite a bit of Palworld, and I see what it's capable of, and I'm excited because in a year or two, this game, if they follow through, it's going to be a truly, it's going to be worth playing. I'll say that. I don't want to make it sound like it's the greatest game of all time, but it should be.
But in the short term, you've left it for ARK in terms of that game loop and what it is. Is that what I'm hearing?
It reignited. I dropped ARK a long time ago because it's kind of toxic. It's like you can just get wiped overnight while you're not even playing, while you're at work. Talk about grass touching. There's people on there who don't touch grass. They're on there all the time, and they just obliterate all the work you did and leave you with nothing. But for some reason...
And I think that's one of the main things that rubbed me the wrong way, and that game did not stick the landing for me. Because I thought, okay, so I drop in and I'm some naked caveman guy, and I get to build all this cool stuff, and there's dinosaurs, and it looked... Honestly, at that time, I think it was in beta. It looked kind of rad, Yeah. And I thought, okay, you get a pal, you get a fortress that you sort of build up, and this is your spot, but it's persistent, and so that means what it means. People could come frick it up while you're not logged in. And it reminded me of when I played EVE Online for just a little while.
Yeah.
Because that game is massively persistent and huge and known for people, ganking and guarding certain areas and just wrecking shop when you least expect it, and this just conniving PvP. Yeah. And I thought, okay, if this wasn't persistent in that way, I would love to sit down and explore this universe with Jared, but if some rando's gonna come, nuke my stuff while I'm sleeping, what are we doing here?
Yeah, and that's part of the draw for me. For some reason, I like that. I like the feeling of if I do this right, I can do something. There's a level of competition there. There's an unknown element. I like the feeling. I like it when worlds feel full, and that's actually something that I Palworld really left me wanting, because there are a lot of sections of that game that are just, the world looks fine. It looks like kind of like Breath of the Wild-esque, but it's not amazing looking. And there's, I mean, I know I said it's a good looking game, but like the actual assets are not like beautiful. Yeah. It's kind of cartoony. But it just feels really empty and feels really unfinished, and that's okay. That's where it's at, and it's a cool idea. But there's already a game that's been in development and past development. So they just re-released it, basically a updated, better, souped-up version on the Unreal Engine 5. It's ARK Survival Ascended, and it's a game that I know that I love, and it's fleshed out in a lot of ways. It's still buggy, and it's still Studio Wildcard, which is known to be kind of,
a wild card.
A wild card, yeah. I guess they. What did we expect? Yeah,
yeah.
And it's still messy. It's still not perfect, but it's like, it's just weird to see people go absolutely nuts for this game. That's like I get how there are new things here, but you're just impressed because you think it's new, and it's like this game basically already exists, but it's better. ARK is better,
right.
So
right.
So yeah, Palworld is gay. Don't get it. If you play it, you're stupid, dude. You're a dumb idiot.
Do you think, to play devil's advocate for the Palworld developers, do you think the game is intentionally somewhat empty because it will be fleshed out and built upon and just sort of overgrown by player creation? Is that an angle? Is it persistent in that same way that ARK is?
I don't know if. Well, that's the thing. The foundation of the game is not. You can play online and you can have a lot of people in the server. That's not where it's at yet. It's possible, but at the same time, coming from, I just started playing Survival Ascended, the ARK one, and the environments are so lush and just rich and dense, and it's like I feel it's very immersive. And the Palworld,
if a game is going to ask you to craft anything and gather anything, it needs to have, at the very least, in pockets, really dense areas that you go do that thing. Because if I have to walk and backtrack and walk and find and seek and find, like, count me out, dog. Like, I'm not even. It's already not my favorite game loop, and so to ask me to not be courteous of my time, is like in some ways the ultimate game design sin, right? Because let's remember, video games are a hobby from 99.9% of people. I ain't got time for certain things. And I can see its relative emptiness being a big drawback.
It's, imagine the feeling of you are traversing the map, which is pretty sizable, by the way. It's a pretty huge map. Imagine you're traversing this enormous map and you come up to a enormous expanse, and you've just dropped an enormous dump in your pants. Wait, no, back that up. I'm sorry. Erase that last part. You come to this huge expanse, and you're like excited because you can kind of feel this coming. Your synapses are like, they understand that you're about to come up to something that you're going to be wowed by, and you show up, and it's just completely empty, and all you can think about is, I have to walk across this whole thing, and there's nothing here. It's like a deflating feeling. It's like, I want to stop playing. This sucks. So, yeah. It'd be fun
both of you guys, do you remember, this will be a sort of go around the horn for a second here. Do you remember when one of the things that you would find in a review of a game, and one of the things that would strike you when you played a game, is that there were moments, this is primarily in story-based single-player games, there was a moment where you would turn a corner or come off of a bridge or do something, and there was a VISTA. That was like a term in video games. Do you remember this like phenomenon? Whether it was like a Gears of War, Call of Duty, like straight ahead kind of on rails, single player campaign, or whether it was an MMO kind of thing. Like lots of different games, it became this thing that developers were clearly chasing. I don't know who started it, but there's lots of games that they came up with this whoosh, swelling strings.
E3, the E3 moment, the E3 showcase moment.
Yeah, like this is whoa, this is the moment. Right. And a VISTA was like a thing that would be sort of taken down on, notes being taken down by the reviewers or at E3. Do you have games that you remember did that really well?
Yes.
Greg does because he's. I think I know what he's gonna say, but I want to hear him say it.
The first one I can remember being like a really big deal like that. Probably Fallout 3. When you get out of the vault, like at the beginning of the game, you know, although it's an ugly Vista, it's still a Vista.
Right.
Probably the most famous one is Breath of the Wild. When you wake up at the beginning of the game and you can see all of Hyrule, super cool.
Right.
My favorite one is Elden Ring. When you beat the first dungeon, quote unquote legacy dungeon in that game, you like crawl through some vines and brush, and you just see this humongous castle way off the distance, and the draw distance and everything is rendered so far away when you see this. And you can see like little churches that look like they're a mile away, and you can see this castle, and it's just really. I'm actually gonna put a picture of it in the group chat, but it's pretty incredible.
Well, it sounds like they programmed that very specifically, right? Literally pulling the curtain back, these vines or whatever you're just. I haven't played Elden Ring yet, but which I know is like high time I probably did that, but sort of pulling the vines across, right? It's just really telegraphing like, hey, we're about to show you something real cool, man. Like crawling through something. Right. You know what I remember? I think I've told this story before, and I don't know if it was on the podcast or not. I went to Jared's house for the first time, the only time. You were still living with your folks there, and I saw like your drum set and like your whole setup, and you were really slinging that eBay money around a little bit because you were. I think you were doing that whole thing even more than you do now, if at all. I don't know what you do now, but you had just got. Was it the PS4?
It was probably PS4 or no.
I feel like it was
I don't know.
I feel like it might have been a PS4, but I can't be sure. The reason I remember this, you had just got a TV that was like a little curved, and it was like pretty big, and you had Horizon Zero Dawn on there.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, dude, check it out. Sit down, play it for a minute. And I was like, can I really?
Thanks.
Like, I'm at my friend's house playing this game he just got. I feel like a kid again.
Right.
And I booted that bad boy up, new save file from the beginning, and that game did some beautiful stuff. And like I said, I feel like it was a PS4, and it was pretty rad. You know, it was pretty state of the edge, cutting the art, you know, graphics there, and that has some Vista type moments. You know, the mountains and the sort of snowy, you know, snow cap thing. That game also does a really interesting job where you're literally a child and you sort of grow up at the beginning of the game, which is really interesting. The reason I bring this up is because I find that it's almost an artifact of an older period of video games. Like games now, that's sort of taken for granted that there might be some, you know, whoosh, like, you know, moment where they reveal a thing, and it's the rare game that does it well because we all have all these examples of whether it's a Zelda game or Elden Ring or some other thing. Like there's only a few games that really nail that, and there's like lots of imitators. I don't know, it's interesting. So for Palworld to be like, hey, look at this great big world, whoa, cool, but it's super cartoony and super empty, it's like, it's kind of falling flat, brother, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
All right, let me see what Greg said. Oh wow! So this is like sort of a screen grab of what you would actually see in the game.
Yeah, those are screen captures.
That's wild, dude.
Yeah, pretty cool. Well, everybody, thanks for listening. We love putting this content together for you. You know, this all started. We just enjoyed talking to each other, and we thought, let's record it, and it's turned out to be really good so far. And we appreciate your support. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at 3grasstouchers, and to check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And we appreciate your support constantly. It's great.
Yeah, we have thoroughly enjoyed putting it together. And just a quick note, we do have one new little feature. If you're a Spotify listener, I feel like maybe this description also comes through on Apple Podcasts. I'm not sure, but you can now support the podcast. Under the description of the episode, you'll see a link that ends with grasstouchers /support. It is not a subscription of any kind. It is not a bonus content sort of Patreon type thing. It's just a way that if you so desire, you can, send us a cup of coffee, as it were, or a beer, or if there's some game that's $2 and you want us to play it really bad, send us $2. We'll totally play it. Just a fun way to support us if you would ever like to do so. No pressure at all, not a subscription. Although we do in the future want to do some subscriber content, and won't that be fun? We'll come up with some goofs and some gaffes, some good times. One last thing as we leave you, I got to tell you, next week's going to be a little extra special. We're going to have a guest. He's a friend of mine and a friend of the pod that has a little bit to say about one of the best games of 2023. That'll be a Baldur's Gate 3 special next week. We haven't all played it, but we're going to dig into it with our special guest, so be sure to tune in next week. And until then, hope you have a great one, and don't forget to go touch some grass.